Welcome, dirty peasants, to Wartwood Gazette, the Amphibia podcast. This is episode 49. We are covering Amphibia Season 3, episode 11, Commander Ann and Sprivy. I'm your host, Thembaticon, and joining me today we have King of the Uzbeks,
Hello.
Pixels,
What's up?
Nick,
What's up, y'all?
and Rurk.
Hello.
So, news this week, we got the remaining synopses for the April episodes. We'll cover that near the end. I think that's about it for news. Yep, okay. So we're just going to go right into Commander Ann, which was directed by Roxanne Cole, written by Todd McClintock, storyboards by Silver Paul and Alex Swanson. So this episode was just the reintroduction to Amphibia. It's dramatically changed since the planners were gone, and the planners. And then they came back, everything's in ruin, they try to head back to Wartwood, but then we get to meet Wartwood citizens and Sasha again, and they go on a mission, and it's all about Anne is like Anne is trying to be a leader, even though she immediately came back. She struggles to adjust, and then eventually Anne convinces Sasha to take control again and save the day from the wildlife that Andrews has figured out how to control using a certain special kind of enzymes. And yeah, and I just thought this was a really nice reintroduction to I guess we're back in Amphibia now, and probably for the rest of the season or series. And there's a lot of great callbacks in this episode and the next one as well, but especially in this one, we see it's nice to catch up on all the townsfolk. We haven't seen them in a long time, and yeah, in general I liked what they did with Sasha, where she is now, and I like how she still is she's now reluctant to she wants to be on Anne's good side, and she kind of her attempts at doing that kind of backfire, and until Anne kind of throws herself into the situation, or in this case into the snake's mouth. But yeah, overall I really liked this episode. It was a really nice return. I'm not gonna say return to form, because that was always a yeah, especially in 3A, but salt aside, yeah, those are my thoughts on Commander Ann. I guess starting with Rook, what were your thoughts on Commander Ann?
Commander Ann had a lot of weight on its shoulders because it was the planters coming back to Amphibia. It was Anne getting used to seeing all this destruction that came around because of Andrea's invasion. It had to deal with showing the resistance. It had to show us how much Sasha evolved. And I think that this episode pulled off every weight it had spectacularly. I loved seeing Buffloggle. I loved the comedy still being on point. I loved the action, and I loved seeing all the others like Croaker and Wally back. I loved seeing the new setting of the new resistance and seeing them travel all over the place. And I especially love GGS, which is Good Girl Sasha. I think she and her development, and Anne seeing how much she's changed and how they can reconcile to fight off Andreas and his plan. It was amazing. So I think this was a very, very good episode, and they pulled off everything they needed to.
Alright, thank you, Rook. Pixels, what were your thoughts on Commander Ann?
I really like this episode. I love that there was still I wouldn't say. Would you say that there was tension still with Sasha and Anne?
I mean,
Near
there's
the
still
end,
some.
yeah.
They still have some things to talk about, yeah.
Yeah,
They still have
and,
some things they have to resolve, but
mhm.
it seemed like it's been, because we already saw at the second part like in the second half of True Colors, you already saw them like reconcile like the anger that Anne felt in the beginning of that
Yeah.
episode. So I guess that's why the weight is a little bit lesser. But there's
And,
still some.
There is a line that when Anne said, "I will talk about we'll work out our problem differences later," and I feel like we'll probably see that later in 3B, and I'm really looking forward to that.
On
I
the
like
other
how
hand, we
the
did have Anne and Hop Pop talking about that in First Temple, and
right,
that hasn't come up. But
right.
on the other hand, they did say it, and they worked some at the episode. It's a very good start for them.
I like the color palette in the whole episode. It's very murky, with lots of beige, browns, and dark blacks.
Yeah.
Having like an industrial theme, and I am a sucker for industrial settings. Don't get me wrong. The Buffloggle, best thing ever. this boy just, man, it's just the pacing was good, the fighting was good, and the color, it was an important aspect too because he actually explained it a while later, and I think we'll get into that in a bit too. All in all, really great episode. Really great to see Sasha back and have a sense of change, which kind of makes me think what was the time? Like, how long has it been? I mean, what did we say? It was like how long ago?
It was about a month.
A month, right? Yeah, and Sasha for a whole, well, I wouldn't say a whole month because she's been in Amphibia for a long time. She has changed, and I'm really glad to see that.
All right, thank you, Pixels. Uzbeks, what were your thoughts on this segment?
I thought it strengthened as it went on. The beginning was a little exposition heavy, and like the Aunt Sasha stuff wasn't quite clicking for me. But then at the end, it very much did click for me. It was a fun return to Amphibia. Some nice battle scenes. We get to see how Wartwood has changed and how everyone has changed, basically, from the planters to Sasha to Buffloggle. So yeah, a really solid opener for this final stretch of episodes.
Thank you, Uzbeks. Nick, what were your thoughts on this episode?
I mean, I thought it was really good. Like, just a really good way to like set us up for 3B. You know what I mean? Just two really quality episodes here. It's like, so. I mean, I guess I'm trying to think of the episode as a whole because I feel like there are like really two main things going on here, right? Like Anne's characterization and Sasha's characterization. I think I ended up really enjoying Anne's stuff here, because I always find it interesting to see how she handles like Sasha and Marcy just dropping, in the middle of her life. Like that's sort of what always happens, right? Like she's always surprised to have them just drop in like that. So yeah, I thought how they handled Anne here was especially good. Like a lot of great moments of her. Sasha, yeah, I mean I've always been a big fan of her, and like I've always been invested in the redemption arc too. So yeah, just how we are at this point is really, really, really enjoyable. Just not to have to I'm no longer worried about potential betrayals. No longer have to have my heart broken by flashbacks. I can just enjoy her being chill. And yeah, I really dig the new design too. So I'm just excited for, how much else screen time she has for the season.
All right, thank you, Nick. So I guess we can just start talking about the beginning of the episode. So it takes place right after Escape to Amphibia. Planners see the new status quo. I guess their first plan is to get back to Wartwood, and then they notice Wartwood is all destroyed, and eventually we get that centipede creature come out, and I love how Polly just, it's like second nature. Her she immediately jumps into she immediately chooses violence and takes it out in 2 hits.
With her legs.
With her legs, of course.
I'm a little surprised no one mentioned, none of the Wartwoods were like, "Oh, Polly, you got your legs."
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
she did a
This
really
is the
good
first
kick.
time they're seeing
Oh
her.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder
surprised-
why they're not
Yeah.
Polly, you got legs. Honestly, I never thought about that.
But
Yeah.
that's kind of. I'll talk about it some later, but I do feel like you could have easily made a 20-minute episode out of this. And that's the sort of thing that you lose by keeping it at 11 minutes. But
Yeah.
it was packed anyway. I don't blame them for not putting in sort of just their minor joke.
I mean, kicking those babies back in 3A was a good exercise for her, so. In the daycare.
I guess the difference between like Amphibia and Earth for Polly is that like Amphibia, Polly can on Earth she has to keep a low profile and she doesn't know who's like an enemy and who's like an ally, but on Amphibia it's
She's
like
giant centipede, she kills.
yeah.
Well,
Pretty much.
tries to. She failed, but
She'd be the strongest in the family if Anne couldn't go Super Saiyan. That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Oh, Rurk, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, definitely. Like,
Oh, okay.
if it weren't for like the calamity powers, I think Polly has a good chance of being called like the strongest planter.
And like when we get that like quick like little those jump cuts of what Amphibia looks like now, I think this kind of like is this a dung beetle? Like the robot is shaped like a beetle with the giant like rolling pin thing.
I was thinking it was a cephalopod.
Sorry,
Cephalopod?
a cyclopod. Okay.
cephalopod,
Oh,
A
cephalopod.
cephalopod. Yeah, that's a hard word to say.
some sort of crab thing.
Yeah, let me sort of just.
And then the centipede has a very interesting color, but I'll talk about that later.
We'll get to that.
But yeah, like the centipede came back up and then eventually gets shot down, and then that's when we get like the arrival of the intro, the Wartwood resistance in the intro. So we have Wally, Croaker, Loggle,
Buffloggle,
Buffloggle.
the man, the myth, the legend.
Buff Loggle.
Seth has a JoJo presence. Oh my god.
And they're all wearing helmets that remind me of that one toad that was with like Bog and the creepy toad in Toe Tax.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're like the one who didn't talk, like
Yeah,
forgot the
Ben
name.
or whatever. Ben Meyer, something like that.
Speaking of toe tax, there's actually a very subtle reference they made in this episode towards toe tax that I think a lot of people might miss. Basically, the scene where Sasha was convincing Anne to become the commander, and one of the reasons that Sasha gave was that Anne stood up for Wartwood. So that was a really subtle, and like it only lasted for 3 seconds, but I found that like a really cool callback to toe tax, and seeing that even with all the resistance happening, they still remember that specific moment in their time when Anne stood up for them.
Yeah, I think it also happens like later on in season 1 when like the whole Toad army shows up to Wartwood as well. So yeah, like yeah, that's a good point, Rook.
Yeah, Sotax Armor is like that's when Roar really came to respect her and just show her as like a leadership figure.
And I guess
which we see here.
Oh, go ahead, Uzbeks.
Yeah, I mean, and then after that, we have the sort of third reunion with Anne and Sasha. Which was
yeah, it's we get to see like Sasha's new outfit, and it kind of most of it kind of got spoiled in the the thumbnail, not thumbnail, the promo promo image, I guess, or was it the YouTube TV thumbnail?
I think it was a promo image first.
Yeah, for like YouTube TV.
Yeah, and even though it shows like oh, go ahead, Nick.
Okay, has Loggle always been this tall? Like, I'm looking at a screenshot of Loggle right now. Sorry, I swear to God, he wasn't this tall.
He wasn't that tall back. Like, he's tall, but yeah.
He's
Maybe
taller
it got
now.
emphasized by his body.
Jesus,
Never see a
Marco.
leg day, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But back to Sasha though. It's it's pretty interesting like how much design has changed. Right, like she dropped the ponytail. Did she still have her swords? I don't know if does she still have her swords. I don't think I noticed if she still had them.
She has her pink. Well, actually, I did. I mean, I presume she still has her sword somewhere, but
Yeah,
Maybe it's
did
stashed in
not
the
have them this
in the
time.
cape or the cloak, in
Hmm.
the fur of that thing. I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, and then she has like one. She only has one glove, which I guess is for like aesthetics. And then yeah, I think that's most of Sasha's redesign. And then I like how Croaker has like armored slippers.
Yeah, all of
That's
the
kind of
Wartwood people got
kick-ass. I
their own
can't
little.
Oh, I didn't
lie.
even notice.
That's
I
kind of
didn't even
kick-ass,
notice.
though.
What
I can't
the
lie.
heck?
Seriously.
Yeah, all the Wartwood people got a little glow up, which makes it all the more stark that Anne did. But
Yeah, and then they all head back to the planner's house, and that's when we get the long-awaited return of the planner basement. Like, it's been so like
It's been
long.
too long.
Mhm.
Yeah, they haven't even mentioned it in season 1, right? Like,
They mentioned in
damn.
season 2 though. Polly
What did
in
they
Bessie
say?
Michelangelo, she mentions like going down to the armory and getting some stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it's just you know what I mean. Like, it's really nice to see some payoff here because I know we spent a long time just speculating on it, having some great reviews. I mean, if I'm being honest, I always did imagine that it would be related to the prophecy somehow, but like I didn't think it would be this like a fully decked out space in a rebellion. So that's just really cool, you know.
Yeah, they definitely took some like
Yeah.
design liberties with how it was first shown in season 1.
Yeah, because I don't remember it being that wasn't that big, was it?
It had a lot of levels, and I think at the time they did mention there was like more levels than what Sprig, Polly, and Anne visited at the time.
Okay. Damn. They must. Pretty crazy though, right? Like they. I guess I don't know. I guess we can just say they cleared all the levels, made this huge space for themselves. I don't know.
Well, I'm hoping they didn't like. I made this joke a few days ago, but it's like I'm loving how Sasha's redemption arc involving reading Anne's diary and uprooting the planner's ancestral home.
Oh my god.
Brilliant.
But I'm sure the townsfolk like treated the planner's like belongings like well. I hope.
They just throw him out, just a safe space. Just
Yeah, I'm just looking at.
There
Yeah,
are more important things to worry about.
they really stamp. They really like. Now that I'm taking like a closer look, like they really went all out this place. I mean, they have like what I'm seeing is they have like multiple shops. They have like was that like a little hospital right there?
Yeah,
They have Stumpy's is running like some sort of hospital, but they got everything. They got the statue, they got the stores. They have the mayor still counting gold. They've recreated
Well, they've
Wartwood
got-
beneath the ground.
Well, they have to because, like Sasha said, Andres destroyed it all. So
destroyed
unfortunately,
it all.
it's kind of a tragic thing because it's so cool, but it came from such a horrific
yeah.
destruction of like town.
Well, now that Darcy's in charge, you could say Marcy destroyed Wartwood twice.
Oh,
wow. Jesus.
Shade.
Uzbeks.
Okay, well, on the bright,
Um,
think about how
but
disappointed
she'll get a
Marcy.
chance to rebuild it.
Like that's even worse because now this is the second time Marcy's gonna try and gentrify Wartwood again.
Well, it's not
Oh
gentrification,
my
it
God.
doesn't replace everyone. But yes.
Okay, yeah, this Wartwood is pretty much underground. We can just call it
Yeah.
Wartwood Underground. But
Yeah.
Very
Wartwood
creative.
Fight Club.
There's well in the
Wartwood
middle.
Firelight.
In the middle, they show Grime like kind of training a bunch of like kids to fight.
Yeah, it's
Oh
this
my
little,
god.
I don't know about that Grime. Like, I mean, I guess Sauce is already a college soldier, but like, dude, he's going for even younger, Grime. Like, what the fuck? Look
Yeah,
at them.
there's some definite
basically.
child soldiering going on.
Like, damn. I mean, I guess.
Who better else than Grime? I mean,
I
we
guess-
started off the show with him training a child soldier. Like, so
He
it
is the
fits.
expert.
Mm-hmm. He is the expert on like training like children and to become like war machines. So it's really cool to see like it being repurposed for the resistance.
And maybe those like kids that he's training, especially if you guys remember Bailey from the Ballad of Hoppedai Planner, he's there too. And
Ooh, yeah.
I guess maybe Grimes' pupil might like show these kids again.
Well, I think that's going to be more one-on-one. But I do think, and we see some of this in Sprivy, that like this isn't just Wartwood. This is the resistance to King Andres. Anyone who is
Willing to fight.
not with him is coming to the valley.
It's not like a Wartwood only thing. It's like a culmination. It's an umbrella resistance for like everybody in Amphibia all across who wants to resist like Andreas' tyranny and like his destruction of the entire place.
Yeah.
I mean, what's interesting though is that like I don't see any like toads or newts here, right? I guess they still haven't like really fully convinced those.
They have Duckweed is there, but he was
Oh,
already in Wartwood.
Yeah, Duckweed's just. Oh yeah, they have Toadstool and Toady, but.
Yeah, I think.
And Grime.
Yeah, I think.
Maybe it's because of distance. Because like Amphibia is like a really really big place. You gotta remember.
Right.
So, like,
Keep in mind, Frog
all the frogs
Valley.
in that area.
Frog Valley is like majority of them are frogs, and we know we have the synopsis for Third Army, the 3 armies. We'll talk about it then a little bit more, like the.
Well, and I mean
Can I drop a tiny little bit of speculation? Something just popped in my head, like just like right after I mentioned the whole thing of the toads.
Well, like, wait, is it more related to the 3 armies? Because we could probably save it for that.
Oh no, it's Grimes' people. Grimes' people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm feeling like that episode. Okay, now that I mentioned the fact that we don't really have that many toads or newts here, I feel like Grimes' people will probably be integral to getting because I mean Beatrix is probably in charge of the whole toad army at this point, right? So I'm thinking like Grimes' people that's going to be integral to getting the toads on their side.
Okay, we'll save the speculation for then. Yeah, but yeah, that's possible. It might be something involving the toads as well. But
Beatrix is.
Oh, we can talk more about
in,
her.
Pardon?
In
like
Grimes' apprentice pupil has Beatrix in it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll save that discussion for later. But yeah, for now it's like the planners and Anne are introduced to the resistance. We get that quick mention of like Sasha's doing a lot of like giving a lot of exposition in these first few minutes, but she mentions Marcy's condition or like what they know so far. And
She's arrested but still alive.
yeah, like and Anne like breathes like a sigh of relief, and I remember doing that same thing as Anne in that moment.
Same. It's because it's finally over, right? Like,
well, until they find out her fate.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Nick and I were referring to the relief of the characters mentioning it, so people would stop asking.
Oh my god.
Well, to go Chuck. Loggle took a push-up every time someone said 3A pad, so...
Yeah.
We got buff.
And then,
Yup.
pardon?
Yeah, that's how we got...
Right, and then Sasha like she reintroduces the planners and with the town, and everyone's happy, and
Yeah.
like,
and that's sweet to see the sort of town heroes come back and everyone's happy for them.
It's really awesome.
There's some truth to what Sasha says in that they resisted because they were waiting for him.
Yeah, like especially back in like Turning Point, like
Yeah.
they were all like kind of like
I mean,
freaking out, and then Sasha just mentioned Anne's name, and then everyone was like completely like chilled out, and
I think it's a sign that Ass becomes sort of like a symbol to them of like leadership. So I guess that's why at the beginning of this episode, at least, they were looking for her for leadership. But then it's been proven as the episode progressed that it's really Sasha who's really taken hold of that.
Yeah. I mean, I just really love the fact that it's not even just Anne who like inspires Wartwood, right? It's also the planters. I mean, Anne's a planter too, but yeah,
Planters.
It's like it's just
Yeah.
That's just really
Remember
sweet.
that
I know.
started the resistance thing in season 1. It was mentioned.
Yeah, but the
long
planters
ago.
got soft because of
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, not
like
entirely, because remember at the beginning, Polly still kicked ass. It's just that they can still kick ass, like Spider Sprig was a thing. But the thing is, the environment of Amphibia, they haven't seen it for months, so they're gonna really have to adjust back into their old life.
I mean, this
Especially
is like
with
the
the
first
resistance in
time.
it.
Yeah, this is like the first time they're seeing their village destroyed, or like or controlled by these robots, and it must have been heartbroken for them.
Yep. And there's also like getting back into their culture that they grew up with for years, but then they got transported, so they gotta like unlearn all of those Earth habits.
And that's what I kind of like about the episode too, because there's like this. Polly was like, "Okay, where is it? Let me go to the text app. Let me just call a taxi."
Yeah, that's great.
That was great. I love that. I love those details a lot.
Yeah, I love the fact they're still letting Earth just leave an impression on them. Because it was a really really great experience for the
And then
planters. So yeah, I love the fact that it still has its lasting impressions.
Yeah, and Anne seems like more ready to it. Like she's done this process before, losing all those creature comforts in Amphibia, and like she's been the one pressing to get back.
Yeah, it's really solid. Yeah, it's like it's the tiny things there that just really boost things up. Like I really like that detail.
So and then we have what they cheer. Sasha gives Anne the helmet of command.
Right, and before that, like Sasha kind of spells it out for the audience how her days of toxic manipulation are over.
It felt so weird.
Trying to take control.
Yeah, it felt
was a great callback to Battle of the Bands.
No, I'll say. I think for me, like, the dialogue works for me, but like, it felt like
it's a little weird.
It felt like a conversation that came from like. Yeah, I guess it felt like sort of.
Wait,
like,
Nick, you go first, then Uzbeks.
Yeah,
sorry.
I just feel like. While it does, I mean, I have like really no issues with the scene, but like I will say, it did make me feel kind of weird because it felt like something they stripped away from the tons and tons of speculation that we did on this series. Because like, I've never heard the show use the word toxic before this, right? Like the word toxic manipulation. Like I've never seen them use that to describe Sasha. So like, yeah, well, I have no issues with the scene. I guess it just felt kind of weird to me.
Yeah, and Uzbeks, you wanted to add on to that, right?
Oh yeah, that it did feel a little more like something like toxic manipulation is like a little weird to like say out loud as opposed to like writing an analysis. But like, and overall, I did feel like the first few scenes with Sasha were very exposition heavy. Like it wasn't until here that I really felt there was like an emotional like through line. But starting here, it gets very good. I like how they're like she's just like talking about Marcy. Here's welcome to the resistance, and it's like you're not even talking with Anne, but then Anne's the one to bring up what she said in True Colors, and Sasha's like, my days of manipulation are over, and like she even brings up, we can be on the same side because we're fighting Andreas, which happened late in True Colors, which I think is an underrated part of the reason why Anne is still willing to trust Sasha, even though they've gone through this before, is that like Sasha was clearly committed to fighting Andreas, if nothing else.
Right, and also Anne kind of she mentions that they're going to like deal with their issues like after Andreas, which is pretty mature of
And
her.
later,
Yeah.
and well, there is a bit, and we'll get into this later. I think it becomes even more apparent that Sasha is overcorrecting, um, her actions, and perhaps even over applying the lessons she took from friendship, um, into broader things. But anyway, she sort of cajoles Anne into taking the helmet of command, manipulates the crowd.
Helmet of authority. Yeah.
Right.
Helmet of
That's what-
authority.
And
Truly a wonderful garb.
yeah, and Anne immediately
Indeed.
Anne is immediately kind of like she points out the facts basically that she's not caught up with everything, but yeah, Sasha kind of just like again like
Like,
overcompensates,
here you go.
throws her into the
Yeah,
fire.
she was kind of laying it
basically.
on thick. She was laying it on thick with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because by
But
the
they head
tone,
back,
her-
and then yeah, she
I was gonna say that. Sorry, I was gonna say that her tone was very hyper and like she didn't want. She was trying to like. I get that she was trying to like make amends, but she didn't like the worst way possible. Just laying it on thick, just making
I
her
don't
later all of a sudden.
honestly I don't blame
You're
Anne for
trying too hard to
thinking
like
this is
undo
some sort of
toxicity and
manipulation.
yeah. It was like trying to overdo the getting rid of the toxicity to the point it became like sort of its own toxicity.
Exactly.
And
Where,
I Because, like, if you remember what she said in Battle of the Bands to Toadie, she said, if I'm not in control all the time, I'll go crazy. So now that she's changed so much, she's trying to overcompensate that desire she once had for always trying to be in control and always trying to lead. So she's trying to, like, push that away from herself. Like, don't make me want to be in control. Don't make me, like, it's yours and don't. Like, she thinks that's gonna be, like, the start of her toxic patterns again. But then, like Anne said at the end of the episode, like, the fact that she's so resistant, it shows that she has changed and she can actually lead and actually have control, but in a healthy way and not in like an obsessive, like I have to way. And I love that about this episode. GGS was amazing.
Yeah. What was I gonna say?
Yeah, I think we can just continue on with. Okay, go ahead, Uzbeks. What?
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to say is what Sasha does here is that like she over applies the lessons she learned about friendship and control to the situation. Because like in a friendship, there doesn't need to be a leader. There doesn't need to be someone in command or in charge. Like friendship isn't about that. Like a good, healthy, non-toxic friendship isn't about like who's in charge, who's the leader of the friend group, you know? But leading a rebel group
That's
at
way
war, yes, you do need someone in charge. You need someone to take the point and be like, here's the rules, here's what we're doing, here. So Sasha is, I think, in her haste to be better, may have missed that sort of distinction. That like telling Anne what military formation to use or whatever isn't the same as bullying her into stealing the music box.
Right, for sure.
different. Damn, that was poignant. Good one, Uzbeks. That was poignant.
Yeah, so we cut like at the end of the meeting, everyone kind of goes into Sasha's briefing room, and or I guess Sasha's
Her
office.
skateboarding statue.
Yeah, that came. Yeah, that was in Toe Tower in Reunion, and I guess she found a way to bring it over. But
yeah,
I guess so. Sasha explains that Andreas is somehow controlling the wildlife with these with with a mushroom enzyme.
Purple.
Yeah, purple mushroom enzyme. And then okay,
Yep.
Nick, you can represent me on my enthusiasm for this
yo,
revelation.
tag team.
I'm gonna be honest, dude. Like when Matt said he was going to bring back a lot of season 1 elements to season 3, all my Jeremy jokes were just like jokes, right? Like I never thought that episode would ever be relevant again because he's just a fucking bug, bro. Like,
He's not just
there
a
we
bug,
go.
Nick.
And
He's our friend. He's Hop Hop's
like,
friend.
like, my God, I'm blown up because I thought if anything would ever come back in season 3, it was not going to be that. But holy shit, like I love this show for this. I love that. Like, I never thought it would actually be this integral to the main villain's plot at all. Like I thought, like I was just thinking, like the Planters Archives that would come back. Tritonio, please come back. I was thinking like Valeriana, like she has to come back. Like I was thinking all that, but this, yeah, never saw that coming. Never saw it coming. But damn, it's great to have it back.
Yeah, I'm just so. Actually, I'll say you covered my thoughts on it pretty well. Like, yeah, I'll save my thoughts about this for Root of Evil speculation. But
Yeah, I'm glad they did that. When I saw like the purple, the collar, and they kind of described like, oh, that's where it's from. Like this looks so familiar.
I wonder how they kept Gary from taking control of it.
And then the dialogue was and
then Hop Pop's like, one time.
Exactly.
I turned you into zombies one time. I turned you into zombies once.
Come on.
From just a practical perspective, no offense to all the robots, but like they're all identical. They're all, we know what their deal is now.
All their flaws, it's all the same.
All their flaws, the fact that they have souls, even when you kill them. But like, so it's nice to have some other sort of enemies to fight, just for the sake of variety in action scenes. Something more than just lasers. It's a good way to sort of keep the sort of crazy amphibia wildlife that we've seen forever, but still have it like tied to the threat of Andreas.
Right, and I'm looking through Sunsfury's Bible of notes, and he mentions that they quickly explain, like, once the collar breaks, like the monsters the creatures kind of just like go away because they're not.
They're confused.
Yeah, they're confused and not intentionally like. They're not targeting the characters out of malice now, like so they'll just once we get them later on, maybe if we see a few more, that might easily explain like where they all go off screen in some sort of battle. That's how I would see how. That's how I'd see the practical use of that. I guess the practical use of like that behavior, but that's me like looking too deep into it. But hey, it's a Children of the Spore follow up. You gotta give it the. I gotta nitpick. I gotta analyze every detail, but
give it the seal of approval and like investigate it like super.
Yeah, so Sasha explains like the plan is to take down one of these facilities that are like mind controlling factory controlling these these animals. We get the quick planners we get the hand sanitizer joke and then we get that quick moment between Grime and Sasha where Grime pretty much spells it out for everyone that what we were all thinking when Sasha gave Anne the Helmet of Authority. And yeah, Sasha doesn't budge at all for this decision.
Yeah, she gets mad. It's complicated. It's even in that scene though, you can tell like she's naturally taking the lead and making this plan.
Yeah, and it's kind of like like Sunsfury also mentioned, it's kind of like the end of discussion quote, except with a different line.
Like what did she say? She said it's complicated, right, or something.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah, and it just zooms up on her face.
Yeah, blue eyes. Grime's a little less sold on this whole like new turn to goodness as she is, but still working with the. Although he gets along well enough with Anne, I guess.
Yeah, I really like this small. Can we talk about Grime for a second? It was I really like when Anne was leaving the room. I just love that small moment. He was just like, "Oh hey, Anne. Oh, I mean, Commander." Like, oh, that was just so good. Like I don't even know if that was supposed to be.
I became like,
I
Voted again.
yeah, he's better than the
Petty
Voted.
real
He
quick.
went from like one of the four most powerful toads in the entire world of Amphibia to third in
A lackey.
command in an underground hole. So like, let's
His
not.
rank keeps going down and down and down and down.
But I just have to say, like, yeah, I guess Grime. I know with Turning Point, that sort of set up Grime as becoming like a better supporter towards Sasha. I guess so. Like, I guess what we're seeing here, it does look like Grime has become pretty adapted to like his new life for her. So yeah, I just thought that was pretty cool to see. I know there wasn't that much Grime in both these episodes, but I think they did give us enough to get a sense of what's going on with him.
Yeah, he's vibing.
Pretty much. Like he's way more mellowed out now, but
Yeah.
Still only question Sasha's actions though, because I mean I feel like while he's questioning, he's also just he's always been, well, not always, but right now he is trying to look out for her.
Right.
Yeah.
And then like the next morning, they're all ready to pull off this operation, and other than like the basic outline, she has like no idea what to do, and like she doesn't know.
Sasha has to bring the map.
Right, and then we get that like montage of them like trying to get there, and it kind of reminded me of Flood, Sweat, and Tears, the way like you have the more cartoony faces on the map, and they're moving around, and while we're on talking about not Flood, Sweat, and Tears, Kane Crazy, like that's the same episode they show like the buff statue of Loggle.
We're gonna talk about this.
I will say, what is it? Oh, Anne loses her shoe again in the quicksand.
Okay, we're not talking about this. This is just this is a travesty. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Yeah. So.
Let's.
So yeah, we get that montage of like, what was it? And the planner stuck in the quicksand. That reminded me of like that quick scene in Hop Till You Drop, where the planners mentioned that Anne got stuck in like a bunch of quicksand. They had to pull her out, and this is kind of like, I don't know if it's intentional, but just an observation.
That's just embarrassing. Like the planters, they fell off. Like I'm sorry, the planters.
Yeah. This is some of the same issues that 3A had with them being sort of joke side characters. There were, I think, some interesting parallels with Marcy at the Gates. Obviously, this is a shorter episode, but like and like clearly having this unresolved tension with her friend while the planters do other hijinks. And then like a tearful moment at the end, followed by someone jumping into a
beast
giant.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I got a lot of Marcy at the Gate vibes from all of the things you mentioned.
Like, which is fair.
Like
and
jumping inside, a beast and all that stuff, and like unresolved conflict, and then like a reunion again, and then the tearful hug scene. Like, it's all there.
I will say, I did. I found it interesting looking back at sort of what we saw in Escape to Amphibia, where Anne's like, I'm just a kid, but like people beside me, I can, do what I need to do. Is an interesting contrast, because like that was a lot of it was about her sort of taking up a role and like her ability to like do what needs to be done. But it was also about like her ability, say, yeah, I need help. I can get support what I need. And like she doesn't, like she's pretty quickly Sasha, you are much better suited for this than me. You should be doing that. she's not like it's not like Anne doesn't have to learn a lesson this episode, is what I'm trying to say. And after Escape to Amphibia, I like that.
Yeah, and even
Yeah,
in this. Go ahead, Nick.
Oh no, I'll let you go. Let's go.
No, I was just about to like go on to like the part where they reach the factory, but
Okay. I mean, I was just gonna I think Anne's characterization is I feel like it is like a really underrated part of the episode because it's just I feel like this is an example of where 3A just comes in handy for her because she was already like back at the start of 3A, she was already like dealing with this immense tax that she had no idea how to combat with at all. But here in Commander Anne, like here, she's made the leader of the rebellion, but she instantly knows that this is not suited for her, right? Like she knows what she has to do with the role like automatically. So I just thought that was pretty cool.
yeah, I like how it wasn't like a kind of thing where Anne just wanted to like. It wasn't a situation where Anne thought she knew best, because like after everything we've seen with Anne, it's the kind of thing she would be able to identify. And yeah, I think this was like, I think before this episode came out, I was kind of like, I would have been fine whether or not Anne wanted to like go into this direction, because she'd be completely, even though she would be wrong, I would understand why she would want to be like a little bit more controlling after everything she's been through. But then yeah, just like 3A
And with Sasha, not trusting Sasha to be in charge.
Yeah,
right?
Like if the show decided to go that route, I would have been like completely on board with it. But like I'm like I like this approach just as much.
Yeah, because it really does feel like it made use of a lot of her development back in 3A.
Yeah, because like since she wasn't trapped in Amphibia, like in dealing with the actual, since she wasn't dealing with Andreas on Amphibia the same way Sasha has, she had like the space to like a little bit to be a little bit more mature about her thoughts, I guess, or her feelings on everything, if that makes sense. Like she had time to breathe, basically.
Yeah, plus I do feel like she has learned to sort of trust other people when it comes to a daunting task. So like, just realizing that, plus she's become aware that, she has her limits and that, she will need to rely on people. So I feel like that definitely helped make her less stubborn with, I mean, she like, right off the bat, she already wanted to give the helmet back to Sasha. So I just thought there was really solid characterization of her.
Right, so yeah, I think we can move on with the episode where they get to the factory and we get that quick joke with the, I guess the
human tower,
yeah, the frog tower, and then that doesn't work out. And then
Sasha with the grappling hook.
Yeah, like she already knew what to do.
She could use it right away.
And I think there's an interesting progression of Sasha this episode, where like at the first she's like, yeah, and you should be the leader. But she becomes increasingly more uncomfortable with decisions Anne is making.
Right, which is
as the episode goes on.
Yeah, that was like pretty much what we all anticipated, and I'm glad it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, then the snake monster comes out, and I kind of noticed how it's like, it looks like a regular snake, and then I'm guessing the factory like added those like that armor plating on top, and
yeah, the helmet, right, with the collar.
Yeah, with the collar, and just
yeah,
because
was it just the collar?
No, not just the collar. Like the whole outer, its skin is basically reinforced because you can see like the little rivets.
Oh, okay.
The plating along its scales.
That.
Yeah,
I just saw the helmet and the collar. I didn't know about the rivets.
Yeah, like that's what the main. That's the main detail I try to look for when trying to like separate what's like mechanical and just natural in Amphibia, especially like when you first got that season 2 poster with like Frobo hiding in the background. Like I was like zooming in, I'm like look at those like dots along the side. Those are
enhance.
something funky's up, but
Uh,
yeah, we get this lizard monster thing. Not monster. It's just a lizard. And like orders everyone just to charge in, and it doesn't end well for them. And again, we get another planner joke with
I'll pop in the.
the stain. I'll talk about the planners like at the end of the
Oh my
segment
God.
because I have a little
Holly's like, you gotta wash it first.
I have a
Yeah,
little
that's
bit
with water.
to say about that. But yeah, and then
That was
eventually
really
everyone
funny.
everyone gets eaten basically, and
And Anne's like, "All right, Sasha, tell me what to do."
yeah, and then we get that big kind of we get the moment between them in this episode where Sasha's like admits that she's worried about taking control again around
Yeah.
Anne.
Yeah.
After what happened with.
Yeah, after what happened in True Colors and that invasion. And then like Anne doesn't really say anything back at her. She just like throws the helmet down and jumps in because she knows like Sasha's going to come and save them all.
Yeah.
That, and I feel
Yeah,
like that was a
there's-
reference to Marcy at the gates because Marcy
I
kind
think
of
it was
because Marcy when we saw her, Marcy
also the
did.
scene where Anne looks at the helmet, like the reflection of
Yes.
herself.
Oh, wait.
But that was
That's in
that was
Michelangelo.
more in
Nicola,
2B.
wait. But also, it's actually the polar opposite of the jumping in because in Marcy at the gates, when Marcy jumped in, it was about Anne not having that much faith in Marcy. But then when someone jumped into a monster in this episode in Commander Anne, it's
was
the
about
opposite.
Anne
It's
having.
Anne trusting
Oh.
Sasha. So the opposite.
point.
You can see Anne's progression. Because in Marcy at the gates, it's like, I don't want to lose you again, Marcy. But then Marcy proved that you can trust me, Anne. But then in this episode, it's the opposite, where Anne threw herself in because she trusts Sasha to be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really nice moment. And then of course Sasha like jumps in and
Immediately, like you could see, like right before as they're like preparing the charge, Sasha like starts sweating and is like, "Uh-oh."
right. And then like of course she like I'm guessing the resistance had all these like different maneuvers and it's similar to how like Wartwood had those like formations for whatever like animal like tries to attack them.
Heron, Mantis.
Right. And then yeah, the frogs all inflate their mouths and I like how Anne does it too, even though it probably doesn't make a difference.
I thought that was
Loggle
really funny.
manages to do that, and he's a axolotl, not a.
Oh, right, he's off. He can't technically do that, but I guess he's buff. He can do anything. It's fine.
Yes.
The strong shall inherit the earth.
Yeah.
Um,
Buff Loggle, everybody. Buff Loggle.
Buff Loggle, the man, the myth, the legend.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then eventually they get out, and
Oh,
then
yeah,
Sasha
Yeah.
like orders them all to do stuff, and they take out the they take out the snake, and then they all plant boom shrooms everywhere, and
And Loggle builds the most perfect bridge. Like, wow.
oh my,
I
yeah,
know.
that was
Victorian
perfect.
era bridge. Like everything. Like how? In like the span of 5 seconds did you do that?
It's Buff Loggle. Anything's
Buff
possible.
Loggle.
Buff Loggle knows
Exactly.
not the laws of
Yeah.
man.
I just love that he
Floggle.
set up like he set up little statues of himself there too. Like, damn, Loggle.
I know.
Absolute king.
And yeah, they
Yeah, so I did.
oh, go ahead, Uzbeks.
Yeah, I like the scene. I like how Sasha immediately after Anne jumps in and she's like, "What the heck, Boonshoy?" Like she's like, "What are you doing?" Um,
Yeah, that was really good delivery on Anna's part.
yeah. Yeah, Anna Kana this episode, I thought it was a little flat at the beginning. But also I realized like she's no longer doing sort of the mean girl attitude or any of that. She's like, this is just, Sasha's voice.
Yeah, it felt like she was like taking on like this
Anna did a great job.
like this tougher,
Yeah, I agree.
this
Anna,
tougher, grittier. Yeah, I felt like she was trying to take on this like tougher, grittier interpretation, like soft. You know what I mean? Like just thought she was like delivering a lot of her lines at the beginning.
Yeah, it was such a like. Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one who like felt that way because like it felt maybe because I'm not used to this version of Sasha now.
No, actually, someone in the chat is asking if she sounds like Gloria from Big City Queens. I actually think it's a case where she sounds less like Gloria than she did before.
Huh.
Like,
yeah, I guess because because we were reintroduced to Sasha now, and she's a different person, and then she's also giving exposition. Maybe that's why it's like all those factors kind of made
exposition
it.
was a little flat. The exposition, because Sasha's never been sort of one to like lecture about like what's going on.
Well,
So that was a little weird.
well, she kind of did it in Reunion though, when she was explaining the rebellion.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
So it's happened before, but that's what maybe because in this scene there was a lot more exposition to give.
Yeah.
And then at least for that scene, that kind of like for a reunion, it had like the reveal about Hop Pop, and that was like the big finish.
And it had the undertones of her sort of manipulating Anne, like seeming nicey, which isn't. Whereas this was this sort of flat exposition.
Right.
But yeah, I think, and then the scene at the end, which was like, I want you to know this is a partnership, and like all the Wartwoodians are like, yes, please, Sasha, please, we need you in command.
Yeah, that was yeah, I think you guys already talked about like Anne, like the Helmet of Authority, like Anne. Since Sasha didn't want it, Anne could kind of like tell that Sasha was trying to change, which is nice. And yeah, we covered all of that. We got the
Going
hug.
through the Bible.
Pardon?
The hug.
You're going through the Bible.
Yeah, I'm going through the Bible.
The hug was very sweet,
Yeah.
and like you could tell, like Anne was more enthusiastic, but Sasha was still a little, stunned, a little surprised. It's an interesting contrast with
Sasha blushing.
Yes, but it's an interesting contrast with like Battle of the Brands at dinner where they're all like huggy, but like Sasha's clearly a little uncomfortable because she's lying, and whereas this she's uncomfortable because she doesn't quite feel like she deserves it.
Right. And
yeah, another sign of GGS, like her progress.
So I think we covered most of the episode except for.
Well, the ending, I like the gag of yes.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. Yeah, like we lost.
But the gag was here, and she's like, "Oh, come on," which was funny.
And also, we already talked about the shoe, but Anne gets her leaves after she
takes off the helmet.
Yeah, like right after she takes off the helmet, she has the leaves again.
God damn it.
It's just magnetic. It's magnetic. What can you say?
Honestly, yeah.
And yeah, so we already covered we covered the shoe thing, and okay, so I know the segment had a lot of planners like readjusting to Amphibia, and like because they got pampered on Earth basically, but like you can't. I know it feels like the planners are being feeling samey maybe, and maybe they don't feel as like, maybe they feel more like comic relief, but we just gotta be patient because it's the planners we're talking about, okay? Like we still
where are the
I actually beg to differ, because if you remember the very beginning of the episode, Polly could still kick ass. So it's like they're not entirely weak. Like I think that's what I love about this episode
Right.
too. Like it's obvious that Earth has like weakened them in some sense because they've not been in this place in such a long time. But like as we saw in the very beginning, Polly could still like destroy some stuff and like she can use her legs now. And then the next episode in Sprivy, like freaking still a good shot. So they still have some of their strengths, but they still don't
I'm
have like that
just worried-
full Wartwood amphibian
I don't
energy
I
that they
don't think
had back
the
in like
I'm just a little worried there aren't any episodes left that are really going to showcase that.
well okay
Like,
I
there
think
aren't any Polly episodes left. There aren't any Hop Hop episodes left. So, like,
okay I'll get into speculation later, but we know about Grimes' pupil. That's going to involve Sprig, and
yeah,
also
and we had a Spring episode.
and also this is Sprig. Like every finale, Sprig plays like a pivotal role.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he'll be there.
like that, like I have no doubt
I'm
about
not
that.
worried that they're not going to be there. It's just I'm not, and I get Sprig will have some stuff, but I'm just worried Hop Hop in particular will never,
Like,
I do have an idea of where you could shine, though.
I do. I know we're
I mean,
both.
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I'm
where
thinking the
We'll
same thing.
we'll say.
speculate.
Yeah, we'll say that for the speculation. But
Yeah.
I like it makes sense that I feel like maybe they were overcompensating and having all these like missing Earth references or missing Earth jokes here, so that in later segments like they can get it over with. But yeah, like I don't see it as too big of an issue. Like no one complained about the planners being kind of samey and in season 2B, but of course like that was right after the first temple. But like I think we just got to be patient. That's like most of our I guess that's the motto for Amphibia.
Yeah, I mean,
Just gotta-
I was
agree, and I think that's already proven because like right after Sprivy, like were there any Earth reference like any like Earth made you weak reference in Sprivy? Because
No.
I think
And,
There
again,
wasn't.
we'll talk about Sprivy in a second.
Right. But Nick,
thank
what'd you
God.
want to say?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was gonna say like I'm perfectly fine with how they handle the player too, because like while I did diss some, so they fell off. Like I also found it really funny because it makes sense. I mean, they spend basically a month in luxury, right? Like I mean, like, so there were instances where people try to kill them, but like they're already used to stuff like that. But still, though, they gotta chill. They gotta chill for about a month. I feel like of course they're still gonna be having some jet lag. Like they're still not going to be completely used to being back in Amphibia. So yeah, I really enjoyed all the gags and just thought they made complete sense.
Also keep in mind, like they went from like living in medieval times to the 21st century. Like
I know.
there's so many like
Yeah, that's another. Like I said, there are a few things that I could have stood to see some of more in this one, and one of them was sort of Anne being like, "Yeah, I've done this before. You can do it."
right.
But also, I feel like it's even worse situation because now they're in an apocalypse. Like they literally, like Amphibia was already dangerous enough, but now Amphibia's literally dying.
Yeah, it got worse when they came back.
Yeah, it's even worse. We didn't mention, but I still love that shot of Mappa where he's like, "Oh, I forgot how dirty Amphibia is." You just see how disgusting his hands are. Oh, so
Yeah.
hilarious. Oh man. Oh, man. Oh God! What about that one? What about that one scene where he gets a grass stain on his butt? He's just like
You just bent down.
He's just like
He's just so distressed.
Oh my
It's
god.
like what happened, and then it just he has a fucking grass stain on his pants.
Classic Hop Hop.
Like that was great. That was great. Like how can you not love that? That was amazing. Yeah.
And I do like how the segment kind of ends with Andrew's like it ends with the castle like over in front of the moon, and like even though like it's not really like no one talks about it, I like how they just like make sure it's there. It's like it's
Yeah.
It's still lingering despite the jokes, despite Anne and Sasha's newfound, closeness.
Well, actually about their closest. I just want to mention like how did you guys feel about that? Because I know going into the episode before, I was sort of expecting like Anne to be like a little more hesitant when it came to greeting Sasha's. Like I was pretty surprised when she ran up and hugged her upon meeting her. You know, but I guess it does
I
make
think
sense because
that
she
is-
was related that she wasn't dead. But like, I guess the second hug. I guess it's the second hug by the end of that episode that just sort of surprises me.
The second hug did less, actually. The initial hug, because whenever she talked about Marcy and Sasha in 3A, she called them like friends. I've got to go save my friends. So like clearly she viewed whatever she said in True Colors to Sasha was not,
Yeah, that makes sense.
and like she saw that, and like I think we can see that like they've definitely already started working on the issues, like they said at the start. But they're not done. They're not claiming to be done. Like, I mean, as soon as they're done hugging, Sasha just like up and walks away. It's not like they're, strolling hand in hand. All is good now.
Yeah, they got work to do.
Yeah, they got work to do.
Indeed.
Right.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, and I think. Oh, just one more thing before we go into Sprivy. Chuck is guarding the planner's house when they get there.
Yes.
I just love that
Chuck
small
salutes.
moment. Like,
He gives a salute.
sausage just like Chuck. Oops. Like,
I like how Sasha salutes Chuck.
yeah, damn, because it's like
Because we
Chuck's
all know
like a
Chuck
god.
is the
though.
real rebellion. Yeah,
Chuck's like a god.
rebellion.
Like, Chuck's a god. Like,
Good old Chuck, man. Chuck's
I
the
just love that.
best.
She literally fucking
Chuck's a Chad.
salutes him. Like, damn.
Oh yeah.
Like, damn, Chuck.
Gabe recognized
Like,
Gabe.
damn.
Hmm.
It was such a quick interaction. Like Sasha said Chuck, and Chuck said tulips.
I just can't wait for Chuck to go out. Like we can
Bro, he's gonna go.
Yeah, and with that we can. Yeah, we talked about Sasha's design.
Which is very cool, not gonna lie. I'm really hoping there's a new intro next week. There wasn't one this week. Alas.
I mean, personally, I don't think we'll get a new intro, but if we don't get Buffalogle at the end of the intro, then yeah, it's time to raise some pitchforks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be
there
mad.
has to be one. Like, I mean, they're not on Earth anymore. Like,
I mean, they weren't on Earth in this episode, and they didn't change it up.
yeah, but they didn't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, I'm just telling myself they didn't want to spoil the new designs right now, but I do have some hope because if you do pay attention to the 3A intro, I mean, a lot of it is reused animation, like, and some sections of animation, but really just still shots, right? Like, the characters move for 1 second, and then they just stand in place pretty much. Like, I feel like there's a chance.
Oh,
that they
right.
might-
I hope.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, right. That final
Yeah,
shot.
I hope.
Oh, sorry, Uzbeks, go ahead.
Yeah, just because it's going to be so weird if it's all like, if it's all Earth stuff and they're not on Earth anymore, none of the Earth townies are there. There's this whole rebellion going on.
Yeah, I just. Yeah, because we all know, like, animation is expensive, but yeah, like,
Yeah.
if we get a new intro, that'd be great, and maybe
Yeah.
maybe a new outro. But
Something
Maybe
to the last few episodes.
I'm not expecting-
because that theory wouldn't quite work. I think it's fine right now, but like for the core and the king coming up, which is probably going to be pretty heavy.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll
and
do
the
the
last
same
few
thing.
episodes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll probably just do the same thing they did for Living Union and have special credits.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So I think we can get into Sprivy now.
Right.
Oh boy.
So, Sprivy was directed by Joe Johnson, written by Adam Colas,
Like always.
and storyboards by Drew Applegate and Eddie West. So this episode, it's Sprig and Ivy being insufferable, and it's great. And I was a fan. I like this. I like this episode. It was. it at least gave us a small idea of what's happening. Like it's not like the rebellion stops in this episode. There's still a mission. There's still stuff to do. Yeah, like again, like Ivy and Sprig are great together, and then them wanting to stay together it's hilarious, especially when their interactions with the other characters as a couple are great. Uh, I liked this this mission. I like these like little mini mission kind of episodes because at least this all kind of reminds me of Star Wars Rebels, where like you have this like small crew doing missions, building up like strength or power, and then eventually once they do all these small tasks, they can focus on like the big counterattack. So I really liked the plot, or the goal of this episode to take down the generator. And
Yeah.
It was a nice little way to.
yeah, and the Stumpy is great. I was hoping we'd get more Stumpy, but I wasn't really expecting it. But and Fern was
same.
and Fern is great.
Fern is like so spacey. So
Fern's-
lovable.
Fern.
Yeah, she's from Girl Time, right? Like because I do remember there was that one moment in the montage where they're at a salon and getting their hair done, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I like the action in this episode. It was fun. I guess starting with Pixels, what were your thoughts on Sprivy?
It was a really lighthearted, just fun episode. I like the interaction between both of them. I think what really helped this episode was the facial expressions that both Ivy and Sprig had when they were separated. It gave me a lot of Craig of the Creek vibes. The battle when they were like invading, when they were like taking this, what was it, like a battle, like a gamma ray or something like that, a laser that they were attacking. That was a really good fight scene with this giant monster that they were fighting. I love how everyone was like, here we go again with this. It's like we get it, you're a couple.
They've clearly been annoying.
Annoyed. You're immensely annoyed.
I just fucking love that so much.
They were immensely annoyed.
And Croak is like, young love is the worst.
Yeah.
I know.
I just love that so much. Like, the whole town just set up
Honestly-
their shit.
Honestly, the entire the sort of briefing scene was the funniest in the whole episode. Because you had Sasha with her tiara.
I was gonna continue. I was gonna.
Sorry.
Yeah, Sasha like Sasha knew what they were doing all along because she had an aerial view. Let's be honest. She didn't want to say anything until the end, and it was just it's just and like I like the callback to the cheerleading that Sasha had. It was like, oh, of course I have it with cheerleader muscle memory.
Sasha was great.
It was great.
But
Oh,
the briefing scene, the briefing scene where like Grimes like, good news, we're getting a support from a very wealthy donor, and everyone's like, yay! And then Stan's like, well, it's guarded by a giant lady cannon, the boo, and then Wally goes, I like the other news better. That was so funny. And then Anne's like, why does Grime always get the good news?
yeah.
God, this episode was jam packed.
Okay.
I'll get into it later.
Okay, so
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Pixels.
I guess
you're fine,
Uzbeks,
you're fine.
anything else you want to talk about for the any general thoughts on the episode?
Sorry. General thoughts. It was good. I thought it was a little much at times. A little too cutesy with the couple stuff, which I realize is the point, but it got a little to the point of, over the top.
All right, thank you, Uzbeks. Actually, I'll save Rurk for last. But Nick, what were your thoughts on Sprivy?
Damn. I don't know. I just thought it was great. Like, Like, I'm not gonna lie, this is the kind of episode that I would call a 10 out of 10. And like, I don't know, I'm not saying anymore, but like, it's the kind of episode where you knew the crew wasn't completely taking it seriously, right? And like, honestly, I love stuff like that. I love stuff like that. So I really love this episode. Like, I know beforehand I wasn't really like the biggest Sprivy fan, but like this, I think this has made me a massive supporter of the ship because, yeah, not only is it really cute to see them together, but god damn, there's so many funny gags here. I mean, just Wartwood cringing at them. Like I just love Longos. I just love Longos. Oh, not this again. Like as soon as I start talking, like it's so good. Like I don't know. It's really funny to see them go from like really shy, afraid to sort of do anything romantic to like constantly bragging about the relationship to all their friends and family. Like what a jump! But
Like,
yeah, I mean,
what's cutest couple?
yeah.
I liked.
I mean, go ahead.
Ivy's little redesign with like the hole in her hat um and the breastplate. Like she's changed it as well, and now they get to do violence together, which is like their whole thing. So yeah, it's very sweet. We do see they work great together. Just not not when they're disobeying Sasha's orders.
Right. Nick, did you want to finish your thoughts on your general thoughts?
Yeah, no, I just had like one more thing.
So sorry.
Oh, don't worry. I just know like a lot of people were like kind of miffed by just how annoying they were. But I don't know. I feel like it was perfectly fine because it's also so damn funny. I mean, like, yeah, while they were being two little shits, like I just kept on laughing and laughing and laughing. So like, I guess before I could even get angry, I was too busy just being happy with it.
All right, thank you, Nick, and Rook. So for context, Rook is the is a big fan of Sprivy, so that's why I saved them for last.
Yep. So okay. So my thoughts on Sprivy. So like Thub said before, and for the uninitiated, yeah, I'm like a really, really, really huge fan of Sprivy. I think the ship is adorable. I think if there was any ship in this show that deserved like the credence and the screen time it got, I definitely think that Sprivy deserved like all of the attention that the show gives it to, like rewatching Dating Season and Skin Deep and Croak and Punishment. Like I loved seeing those two interact. And as a private shipper, I have to say, like, I enjoyed like every minute of this episode. I think that for all the other private shippers out there, I think like the episode did it justice. But also, even beyond like those who are like Sprivy enjoyers, I think even those who don't really like Sprivy that much, I think this episode was absolutely fantastic because even if you're like not that into the ship, like what Nick said, this episode gave enough comedy and enough like punches, like gut-punchingly hilarious stuff that even if you weren't a fan of Sprivy, it offered a lot to you, a lot of like humor and a lot of like things you can just laugh at to the point where you can't even pay attention to like what you're bothered with. Like what the Uzbek said, like it could get a little much, especially with how much they were annoying Wartwood and the Resistance with all of their gushing and stuff. So yeah, but even outside like Sprivy, there's other stuff like um we got to talk about Fern. I think Fern was an absolutely great addition to the cast because all the gags they pulled her, like her having like the kill scissors and like I wish I had those things for hands and the oh, that cloud looks like a cloud. Like she stole the show. I think Fern was an absolute highlight for me in this episode. And
It
also
was.
yeah, God, yeah. Also, Stumpy. Also, it's great to see Stumpy have such a big role in an episode because, like, he's such a great character, and I loved seeing those two specialists and the role they played here. So yeah, and also I liked, like, I remember some like pointed out like Star Wars Rebels. I think that Sasha as, um, I think GGS did a really good job in this episode too because like she had like this kind of Kanan role in this episode where like she had to direct and like coordinate this like entire plan and make sure that the right people are at the right spaces at the right time so that it all goes swimmingly. But then like Ivy and Sprig matched it up with their mushiness. So yeah, and all in all, I know a lot of people think that this is going to be the last. I'd call it like a lot of people say like plot centered and wait no, a lot of people say like there's plot episodes and there's like filler episodes, but I think of Amphibia episodes now as there are story centered episodes and silly centered episodes. And I think that if this is gonna be the last silly centered episode we have, I think it ended up with a banger. And I think this, and I enjoyed. So to wrap up, I think that I enjoyed this episode so very much, and yeah, I can't wait to see like the rest of the Resistance in the future and what else Stumpy and Fern can do with their screen time.
All right, thank you, Rook. And yeah, like I just going into the episode itself, like I think we covered. I think like we covered a lot of the episode already. Like we got to see a little bit more of the underground passages, more rooms, more locations in this. More locations here, especially that glowing mushroom room. That was a nice place. It kind of like it gives everyone like a little bit more like it gives everyone a place to kind of just relax despite what's going on.
There was a very cute. It was just a couple shots, but Polly was playing with Maddie.
Right.
In the sort of, and I thought that was very cute. Like you was Sasha, her little cheerleading thing. It was nice to see her get some comedy, and also sort of nice to see her sort of in like her normal role. Like this is very much an everyday thing for her, this sort of mission. So it's nice to see sort of this sort of. It's not slice of life, obviously, but like the sort of what does a day in the life of the rebellion look like? I think is a valuable thing to have.
Right.
Yeah, especially because 3B is going to start ramping it up like real soon. So yeah, I do enjoy these chances to really like see what the rebellion is like and just just really get more time with the status quo before things get shaken up.
Yeah.
Right, and then we get into the meeting hall and so they explain the mission pretty much. I just like the minor detail of how Anne is, even though Anne's not in command, she still kind of has like a leading role in this group. Like she's not the one sitting in the stands like waiting for a mission. She's at least being briefed and yeah, I think because even though Commander Anne shows that like Anne wasn't equipped in the situation, it wasn't because of her like her own skills. It was mostly just like the lack of like experience in like. Actually, I wouldn't say experience, just the circumstances. And then like once Anne is caught up, then I think she'll be a capable leader for the Resistance, even if it's something that she won't always like choose to be in.
Yeah, because Sasha pretty much just like threw in with like no information. Because I know like she was desperate to sort of like avoid like causing any conflict with Anne, but yeah, still though, Anne had nothing besides a map for the mission. She was just thrown right into it. So yeah, no, I completely agree with you because there are like several scenes in the show where Anne hatches like the perfect scheme to get something done. So yeah, she's a planner. She's a good leader, I'd say too. So yeah.
Yeah, so they cover when they're covering the mission, we get that joke about like the Frobots changing shifts. I like how like Mrs. Croker just like casually just tells Longo like, yeah, everyone deserves a break.
They do. Everyone deserves a break.
I thought that was so funny.
It's true.
Like, I thought that was so funny. Like, wait, the robots change shifts?
And it's even funny because I was like, what? Like, I was like, the robot changed shifts, and then immediately Longo said that. So it's like...
yeah, hilarious.
It was hilarious.
Like,
Adam
God.
Kolos, you know how some of the artists release sort of, concept art on Twitter. Adam Kolos, one of the writers, what he does for his episodes, he sort of releases cut stuff from the script, which is always very fun to see. I highly recommend it. If you haven't checked his Twitter out. And like he showed some of the cut jokes, like Sprig and Ivy talking about the bell, like some funny jokes about Sasha being like, "Oh, Ian put me in charge of the rebellion, don't you remember?" And we'll get to the meta joke at the end later on, but there was some fun stuff there.
Right, and even like Sasha kind of ditched the helmet of authority, and she has like this weird, like, not weird, it's like this hair and tiara, and it kind of I'm pulling up Sunsfury's notes. And Pickle's notes. Like, it's kind of, they had this in the concept art for Sasha in the very beginning of the show, and it kind of made its way into the final product. And what's the Ghibli movie? Princess Mononoke, I think. Yeah, I think that's what Sasha's like. I didn't really make the connection, like the similarities, until like the tiara was there. Even though I don't think that Ghibli film had that character with a tiara. But yeah, that's just a minor design thing, and then we have the pinata scene, which was just out of nowhere, but it's still
Yeah, I was
hilarious.
surprised. Very
Yeah,
It was
rebellious.
really
I know Anna
And
and Grime get like so few screen time together, but God, like, I don't know. I really love this dynamic, even though there's barely even one. Like like them just stare, looking at me. They just exchange glances at one another, just like, okay. Then, like the whole scene happens. But damn, I just hope we get more time with these two.
And then like there's already an Andrea's pinata ready to use. Just dropping from the ceiling, and like the little Mexican music plays. It's great.
Oh, in the background, you can see like the "We Can Do It" poster, except with Loggle on it.
Yeah, We Can Do It. There's a couple. There's like some anti-Andreas posters in the background in Commander Anne. They have a banner that's like Sasha's sword crossed with Anne's tennis racket behind them as they talk, which I love the idea that like the amphibians think the tennis racket is like some sort of feared weapon.
Right.
it's iconic. It's too iconic not to
Exactly.
include.
And so for this mission, so Sasha picks Stumpy, Fern, Sprig, and Ivy. And when Sasha tells them that that Sprig and Ivy are going to be on like separate teams for this operation, like we get that like funny scene of them trying to convince Sasha, and then Sasha's like so unimpressed by it. Like, I just thought like it was just funny, like seeing
Rolls
Sasha's
her
like
eyes.
Sasha. Yeah, she rolls her eyes, like Sasha's like attitude, and then like Sprig and Ivy are just crying.
I'll miss every moment. Like stuff like that.
Yeah,
And they start like tearing up in the eye.
yeah. And Sasha's like,
Like, good
Sasha's
lord.
this is the second time they actually like use the word Lord in the show, and it's Sasha rolling her eyes in a very Sasha way. It's like, oh Lord, yeah,
Good lord.
yeah.
Right, and then they
It's
leave.
so great.
They leave. There's some sort of like not secret passage. Well, yeah, there's like a secret passage for them to leave, I guess, their base. And I like how there was like an underground stable for all the snails. So I'm glad they're all
Yeah.
comfortable. So yeah,
Yeah, they read Bessie in this episode, right?
they took Bessie. They took Bessie.
Yep.
Oh, that's great.
Which is a
Alright,
shame we didn't get a Bessie reunion at moment. She was in the background when the planters popped up in Commander Anne, but no heartwarming reunion.
Maybe she'll take them on Proteus, but I'm hoping she does.
That could be fun.
That'll give us more.
That
That'll
could be
give us
fun.
more Bessie moments.
We didn't see Micro Angelo yet.
Ooh,
But
No, and no
Maybe
Joe
it's fun.
Sparrow either.
and no Joe Sparrow.
Which you'd think they'd use since it's their only method of air travel.
But I'm guessing it's a lot harder to. They're not going to be. How do I say this? They could be easily detected if they're flying
Yeah, that's true.
because there's no cover, and also Andrews is up there. It's not an ideal way. So yeah, we get a nice moment with Stumpy and Fern.
Oh, I love that so much. Like he's
that
like,
went way hard. Like, Stumpy lost his hands. Oh, cool. And then he's like, you'll never caress a baby tadpole, never hold hands with a woman you love. Like, he suddenly goes extremely hard, and Fern's like, ooh, scissors for hands.
Yeah, and despite that, Fern is still like. Fern still wants scissor hands, and also like. I think this is the only time Stumpy kind of like talked about like what it's like without what it's like without two hands, like which is so like unfortunate.
Stumpy. And then soon I didn't even realize how sad that was. He just drops all his misery on her. And like,
Fern
she's
is
like, ooh,
And Fern's
I'm
affected.
disappointed we haven't had. I'm kind of disappointed Fern wasn't around for season 1 because, like, with her spacey attitude, she could have been a great like one episode townie. And we don't really get her until now, but like she was really fun. It was like she was kind of hot. You know.
Huh?
But like, looking at the clouds, like, like doesn't even realize Sprivy is a thing.
Sorry, I had to mute my mic first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spacey and fun.
Yeah, Fern's great, and I like Stumpy's design. Actually, okay, we'll talk about Fern's design after, but I like how Stumpy has the foot on his head, and it like perfectly, not foot, like the armored boot on his head, and it perfectly resembles his chef hat. That was just a nice detail.
I was wondering why he had that. Like, they run out of armor for Stumpy? Like, come on.
And then Fern apparently, like, I don't watch this anime, but apparently she's like, it's a Kill la Kill reference.
Yeah, Kill because she had red scissors.
And then also like
but one half. It was only one half in the anime.
And then also like the thing tied around her, like the.
I think
I want to call it a scarf, but it's like that's not a scarf. It's like, what is that? Like a.
Is it? It's not an ascot. It's like. I don't know.
Just a regular scarf, I think.
But yeah,
I like the reference though. That's a really good reference to Calico.
And like, yeah, I'm guessing whoever like recognized that reference was like freaking out. It's like such a really good not odd. It's just I'm just surprised like it's there. It's like such a weird thing. Like whoever designed Fern had this like in mind and just.
It's just like
damn.
Of all anime Amphibia reference, I did not expect Kill la Kill. I did not see that coming. I'll admit that.
Yeah, so they get there. They get to like the cliff where this turret is set up, and yeah, we already covered the delivery. Actually, I need to pull up Sunsury's note about the delivery guy. It's like it's a comedic way.
I feel bad for the guy. He's just doing his job.
Yeah, it's like it's a comedic way to like at least show that this is the only way in and out of the valley, and
the little song he sings is pretty cute.
Delivery for what? Would delivery today? That was pretty nice.
And then delivery
for Wartwood. Delivery delay.
And then Gazette. Delivery delay.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, I love this episode.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy had a family. You just killed him.
I mean, he's still alive.
He survived.
He had to
Oh,
survive
did
for the
he?
delivery delay part.
Oh, nice.
I mean, but being a delivery
Yeah,
guy in Amphibia, you're probably like, you can probably take a lot
You
of punishment.
better duck and cover the whole way.
It's like being a bird in a snake pit.
Yeah, so Sprig and Ivy, like, they forge a note, and of course Sprig is a master at like forging these forging these notes. Like he did it in Thai Feud with Mrs. Boonchoi, he's doing it here again, and of course, like, then Ivy and Sprig partner up instead, and we
Charlie
get
Brown that.
we get the cute little thing of them like avoiding all the obstacles and how easy it is, and then the contrast of Stumpy being forced to like climb up this mountain or part of a mountain to reach the generator, and again Fern is just uninterested, looking at the clouds.
As it when one of them said cloud.
Yeah.
That was a clever line.
And when Stumpy activates the generator like robot, is the siren sounds familiar? Like, is that just like stock noise? Because I thought it was like the Smash Bros. Challenger approaching noise, but like when I looked it up, it wasn't. But that just siren sounds familiar.
Yeah, it kind of does now that I'm listening to it again. No clue where it's from, though.
But yeah, it was just a fun idea to have like the generator itself be like a frobot, like a crab frobot, just to like as like double security, I guess. And then meanwhile, Sprig and Ivy, they're just waiting for the generator, and Sprig shocks himself trying to check, and
Yeah.
we get the dance montage.
The Charlie Brown reference.
Charlie Brown. Mm-hmm.
There's always a Charlie Brown reference anywhere. There's always a Charlie Brown reference.
Yeah,
in animation.
it's just crazy how far these two have come as a couple. Because like in season 2, like dude, they were so like like adorably awkward with each other. Like they didn't even know how to like they didn't even know how to flirt right. But now it's like
Sprig's out here like raising his eyebrows like.
Say,
Wait,
I will
what?
say,
bad.
Sprig has inherited Pop's dance skills.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
he's
see
yeah.
that.
Inherited genes, dancing genes. So yeah, he's inherited them from Pop.
Oh, minor thing
that
about
was cute.
Ivy's design. Like we know she has the armor plate, but I like how like a little bit of her hair is sticking out of her hat.
Yeah.
I guess planters just like their redheads.
Oh
Mm.
my god, man.
Respect is dropping off.
I mean, they are redheads, and yeah.
So yeah, then eventually they figure out that like Stumpy and Fern are probably in trouble. They head over, and then I like the ambush line.
I thought that was hilarious. Like Stumpy just fucking knocked out. He's like,
And I like how like they have like they animate Stumpy like dramatically like moving his mouth, like his jaw.
yeah, he's like ambush. Like, goddamn Stumpy. It's like like if that was the last thing you could ever say in life, he just went all out. I'm already watching it. It's like Jesus, Stumpy.
Yeah, and
it's just too funny. This episode is just too damn funny.
yeah, I'm happy Stumpy got a segment.
Mhm.
I just
Especially as
played. I'm
season
sorry. Like you just there's so much animation to him yelling ambush.
Yeah, I know it reminds me of that scene in Bug Ball, in the Bug Ball game where remember when Toadie like dribbling the ball had like an uncomfortable like amount of like animation dedicated to just him dribbling.
Yeah. It was really weird. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like while they're fighting, eventually like mostly Ivy kind of figures out like where everyone's best suited, like getting Fern to get to the generator panel, electrical box, and then like Stumpy like pulls Sprig away to like get back to the turret, and then we get that cute scene with uh we get that scene of them like missing each other even though they'll be away. I thought that was hilarious.
Ivy's like, I'll count the seconds even if I didn't already have to do it.
Right, and yeah, so Fern takes down the generator, and then like the Frobot shift comes like on time, and because they're running late, and then Sprig of course like he uses his slingshot skills and blinds all the Frobots while Stumpy rigs the turret to blow. Yeah, and then that they pretty much the mission's a success, and then of course they still tell Sasha what really happened, and actually Sasha kind of figures it out on her own because she was probably watching them, but
Yeah, she had an aerial view, so
at least like this time she at least acknowledges they have the mission. I think it's kind of like an improvement for Sasha, but
Yeah.
I do think like once she kind of points out like after all this is over, she kind of explains her reasoning where like Fern and Stumpy are the specialists, as we saw with like Stumpy touching his like bone hand to test the generator or the force field. And I like how since his hand was like bone, like they mentioned in Lily Pad Thai that his like spatula was bone, so it's not conductive. But yeah, I just like how Sasha knew they were the specialists, and she considered Sprig and Ivy commandos to watch after them. It would have been helpful if Sasha mentioned this at the very beginning, and I think that's like an interesting observation for both this and Commander Anne. How Sasha kind of like she's thought out everything, but she doesn't really like update everyone.
Yeah, I think maybe she's still sort of struggling to be communicative. Like I don't know if it's a thing that the show will elaborate on, but like it is pretty interesting that like she could have just explained herself, and then like everyone would have been like, oh, okay, Sasha, I understand, but no. Instead, she just sort of like figures out her plan fully and just drops it on them to figure out them. Oh, not to figure out themselves, but you know what I mean. Like she just drops it on them and just expects them to follow it completely. But I guess she is a little bit. She is less of a control freak though, because I feel like if this was like season 1 or season 2 Sasha, she absolutely would have like torn those two apart. But here she just tells me she's pissed.
I do wonder too. I hadn't thought about your point, but that's a good one. And Commander Anne had some of that as well, where she was just like, "Hey, Anne, do this." And I wonder how much of that is her overcorrecting from being controlling and, oh, people can do it themselves. I need to trust them to do their own stuff. Or if that's just a sign that, she expects to be obeyed without question still, and she's still sort of working through that, sort of, not automatically assuming people will obey her everywhere. I'm interested to see if that comes back as a dynamic. And, like, if we see which way that falls.
Yeah, I hope it. Like, I don't expect it to come back, but it'd be nice if it does. And
Yeah.
I guess like the final scene, like Sprig and Ivy acknowledge that they don't need to be their relationship doesn't need to be annoying, and we get Wilbert. Wilbert is the elite that was going to like help the rebellion out, and he shows up on Andromeda, his ride with a bunch of supplies. And the episode pretty much ends with like Ivy kind of noticing the difference between the similarities between him and Wally. And
It's a great callback to Swap and Sensibilities.
Like, do you think they'll be pissed at Wally for like basically LARPing.
I don't.
LARPing as a poor person.
So
Like,
at this point, does only Anne would know when they gave the mission briefing.
yeah.
But yeah, when Grime mentioned there was like like a rebellion like sympathizer, like I guess this kind of implies that like outside the maybe not just outside the valley, but like a lot of people are probably maybe most of Amphibia isn't like trying to resist Andrews's like actual mission because like out of fear probably. So a lot of this is probably like under the table hush hush, and Ribbit Vale's full of the we know Ribbit Vale's a very wealthy town, so they probably didn't want to mess
On
with
the
the
other
order
hand,
of
if I mean the
things.
robots are polluting their beautiful town,
Yeah, I was surprised at that. So I figured like he basically turned Amphibia into hell. Like he just flipped Amphibia upside down. So I was pretty surprised that like the nobles still managed to stay nobles, right? Like because it looks like he's draining everything of its resources, right? So
Yeah, I think the entire population of Amphibia is sick of Angius's destruction stuff. Because
yeah,
like even no matter if you're like really poor or like really rich in the place, like when you have this guy who's like ruining everything, like everyone's gotta have to unite, you know.
yeah, it makes sense.
Also, a small like side comment. The specific word that was used was the pro Wartwood elite. So that means even though like it's beyond like the resistance is beyond Wartwood, like the real center of the entire resistance is still like the Wartwood folks, the folks of Wartwood. So because that's the term that was used inside the episode in Sprivy, it was the pro Wartwood elite when they were like giving.
but yeah, I'm glad to see Wally's family come back. Um, yeah, it's sweet to see you know,
And we do know we do know their family was like is a boom shroom business. Like
Yeah, that's gonna be really helpful.
yeah, like outside of the flaw, like not just like foot floss. They also like grew boom shrooms in their backyard.
Mm.
That's probably where most of their wealth comes from. So of course, war is profitable.
I just love how they're just like when Ivy was pointing out that he was Wally's that he looked like Wally. He looks weird in that shot. Like, it looked like he down for a second. Well, let me send the screenshot over, but yeah, no, that I don't know that that ending was both weird, but also really funny. I mean, like, like they just ended up Ivy pointing out that he looks like Wally, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah, I don't think anyone reacted though.
yeah, pretty much. Like, she was like, wait, does he look like Wally? Then that's it. Like, episode's over. Like, no one, like, they all just, I don't know, the episode is just over just like that. Yeah.
yeah.
So I think we covered most of we covered all of Sprivy. I'm just quickly glancing through it. Yeah, I think we got everything. And I think Uzbeks mentioned about like Fern just being oblivious to Sprivy, kind of. Where like only later on in the episode she realizes they're dating.
Dude, that was just really funny. Like, her being so stupid was just really funny. Like, Fern, I was surprised. Like, I will admit, like when the episode started, I was surprised that she was there with them because I thought we'd get like a different Warmer character. But like, I'm so glad they included her. Like, she was probably like the funniest part of this episode, hands down.
Yeah. So I think we can. I think we can wrap up our coverage on the episode. We can go into the.
Oh wait,
Oh, go ahead, Rook.
uh, here's the last thing I want to point out that I think significant about this episode, aside from it being like the last silly centered episode before like everything becomes like story centered. this is gonna be the last time we see Ivy as a main character in an episode, so I think it's a good time for like me to express what I think about Ivy Sundu as a character. Because I know a lot of people who think that Ivy's like a throwaway character whose like only purpose is to be like Sprig's love interest, and I think that's bullshit. I think that Ivy Sundu is like a very charming, endearing character who's like adorable and like has her own personality. Who has a great contribution to like Amphibia's side cast. So I loved her performance. I think she delivered well on this episode, and I think that if this is gonna be her last chance to have like a main character role in an episode, I think she ended on a perfect note.
All right, thank you, Rook. So we're going to go into the remaining synopses for the April episodes. So in past weeks, we kind of got like a little trickle down of information like every week of certain episodes, like next week's episode and Mother Volms and yeah, up to Mother Volms. So we can cover like the remaining 3 of April. So we have. I know we kind of talked a lot about the Corn and the King, so we'll probably try and refrain from speaking about that one. But the root of evil is an interesting one because it's animal planners get stuck in a strange village of plant lovers. And like I'm probably going to take over the discussion for this one, but I'm hoping it's a follow up to Children of the Spore, especially since this episode reintroduces like the same spores, like, and you know, last time we left off on that, we saw Jeremy, the bug, like the bug Hop Up was friends with, like took the spores and then eventually like grew its own, like eventually got taken over. And if Andrews has these spores, it means he's getting them from somewhere. And this episode wasn't really like the last of it, because if they're reintroducing the spores, like I would assume they'd show the source, or in this case, the root of the source. So it's like, yeah, I just think I think this would be like the perfect time to have like Hop Up like get the spotlight one more time before like the finale and all the other episodes.
Counterpoint: mushrooms aren't plants.
Yes, but Loggle inflated.
Yeah, Logic's ready
Okay,
for
that's
Linda.
what you have.
Logic's
But
for
honestly, I don't know. I feel like that's going to be a fairly light one, just because it's paired with the Core and the King, which is going to be, a bit intensive.
Honestly, I'm just glad. I mean, this does look like it might be. I mean, it's sad to say, but this does look like it might be like the last Planter family episode. Just the last episode of just them in it. So
So
I'm gonna
hopefully
be
it's a
sad
fitting
when it's
send-off.
over. Yeah, hopefully it's a really good one. I'm gonna be sad when it's over, but I mean, I'm sure it's gonna be a great one.
I mean, Scott, like they brought back the spores. They know what they ended on with Jeremy. Like, it's gotta come back.
No, I mean, I believe it will because if this season remembered that Stumpy's like spatula was carved out of the bone of his own hand, right? They brought that back. I feel like they could bring Jeremy back because like if they gave my boy Stumpy his own episode, then I think Jeremy has a good shot.
I hope so too. But
At least a visual cameo in the final battle.
technically Jeremy was like not considered like after the sport thing he might not be considered an ally, so I don't know. I'm just hoping the root of evil is children of the sport too. Basically, that's basically my thoughts on that. But the Corn and the King we kind of covered in depth last week, and
Yeah, I'm excited for the flashback. I wasn't here last week, but I'm excited for a flashback. Excited to get a name for Pink Frog. Excited for Jason Ritter as barrel, so lots of fun.
Nick. Jason Ritter. Ass.
Yeah, Jason Ritter. I know. But
Okay.
like, I'm still I'm accepting it. I'm accepting it. I know it's coming.
I can't wait to see the flashback and stuff. I want to see the backstory to that whole thing.
Yeah, I just can't wait until we get a name for the pink frog. It's like we've been calling him the pink frog for like well over a year now. So once we get that, I'm gonna be so happy.
Unless her name's like Pink or something.
Yeah, Jesus Christ! Like imagine that. Imagine that.
Like her name's Pink.
Pink Planner.
I could,
Yeah, Pink.
the fact, why does it actually feel kind of natural? Like I hate that. Like it feels like
Hey,
it could
Pink.
actually work.
Yeah. Like just Pink just being casually her name.
And then
But yeah, actually most likely that's not gonna happen. It's gonna be something else. But it would be really really funny if like
What's
Pink
your
were
name
actual.
be Planter, and like the family name is after her, so she gets Planter the frog.
Oh. Her name's Planter.
I wouldn't mind
Whoa.
that. That'd be pretty nice. But
Her name's actually. Oh, nice one.
but then we have like Newts and Tights, which is while on a recon mission,
Titonia's coming back.
Anne and Sprague confront an old mentor, and yeah, like even before he got the
Titonia's back.
yeah. And I guess Archie Yates guest stars as Joyo Potato. Which is an interesting name. Like,
Oh, is it just going to be a JoJo reference? The whole episode?
Oh my.
Uzbeks already sounds
Wait.
tired just from
Yeah.
I
Right,
don't
Jane
watch
Austen.
any anime. It's going to be lost on me. I swear if it's
I guess you gotta watch JoJo.
Joyo
Uzbeks.
Potato.
I guess you gotta watch JoJo.
I mean-
I don't know what to say.
but Tritonio's such like a Robin Hood type character, so yeah, I'm just looking. I hope he has the sword, the blue sword. I just
yes, the blue sword we've all been hoping for this whole time.
hoping or coping.
Coping and hoping.
Okay,
We'll mix both, I guess.
Coping. Yeah,
yeah, and
coping and hoping.
I'm just wondering what the recon mission is for, even though it might be a minor thing, but
Yeah, I think it'll probably just be like a you know what I mean, like a sort of one-off mission they gave them, and yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
right.
Maybe it'll be near. I mean, maybe it'll be outside the valley because, like, I just wonder how they're going to encounter. Because I'm betting Tertonia probably escaped from jail because it was probably Newtopia, right? And like, well, Newtopia went to shit, so like, obviously he probably had his chance to escape, and he's been going around. Probably like. I mean, do you think he's so? Okay, do you think he's been playing Robin Hood, or is he like a sort of like resistance fighter?
I think he's in it for his own profit, whatever makes him richer.
Okay, yeah, I would have put it past him. So I could totally see that.
I'll go with Uzbeks. Seems like a profiteer. Like that's his bottom line.
And I do think the episode will end with like Anne and Sprague like recruiting him in a way to the cause, because like they'll need all the allies they can get. And then,
Also, okay, so just go ahead.
no, I was gonna go to the next episode.
I mean, what I was going to say would connect it, so I'll just let you go.
Pardon?
No, I'm just saying, like, my idea, it just connects to fight or flights, but I'll let you go first.
Oh, okay. So yeah, like fight or flight. Anne tries to rescue an old friend from one of King Andrew's robot camps. So I think, I think everyone's first thought is maybe Marcy, and I just think it's interesting how it's like just Anne, because I feel like if it was something involving Marcy, they might throw Sasha's name in, unless they're trying to like hide something. I don't know.
If it's sometimes it's always a little hard to tell with episode descriptions because sometimes it's not just the one person, sometimes it is. If it's following right off of News and Tights and may not have time.
Right.
Like Sprig may be going somewhere and like she may just be going all in for it. I definitely think it's Marcy. I've mentioned this some. elsewhere, but my theory is she'll fail to save Marcy, but she will get Union and Olivia out.
Right, and I guess like having like Olivia and Olivia and or Yunnan would kind of like give them a big role in the three armies and having like a
Yeah.
significant like
It'll give them a role. It would like allow Anne and Sasha to figure out what the core is and like what happened. And like Union and Olivia will be saying, yeah, Marcy didn't do this voluntarily. If the core said that it's lying, you know.
and then also they'll represent like the Newt faction for the three armies. And Nick, did you said you wanted to connect something between Newts and Tights and Flight or Fight?
Yeah, I was just thinking. I mean, okay, I know Amphibia's usual thing is just okay. I know Amphibia's usual thing, like it's just to sort of give us like a really cheap, easy explanation for like how we'll be led somewhere. But I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that I'm kind of hoping like by the end of like Newts and Tights, like I don't know, maybe Tritonio gives her like some information on. I'm not sure. Okay, I don't know how you know Marcy, but like I don't know, maybe he gives her some like helpful information after they. Okay, let me start from the beginning. I'm thinking with Newts and Tights, I feel like Tritonio and Anne will probably end up on like a better page by the end of the episode, and I feel like by the end there, maybe Tritonio will give her some helpful information that leads her over to Marcy somehow. Like I'm not sure how he's gonna have that information at all, but I don't know. I just sort of feel like there might be a little connection between these two episodes.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it could lead to something, especially that whole episode with Combat Camp was about like and like learning to trust like her mentors kind of and Tritonio kind of betrayed her in the end, so like having a reunion between them where like they part on good terms and Tritonio like has like he offers something like he genuinely offers something back to Anne.
Yeah.
Not just for like his own heist. So yeah, then we have the three armies, which was I don't think we're gonna talk about the beginning of the end because it's way too cryptic.
It's whatever happens after the end of the three armies.
Right. So I don't think we need to like discuss that one. But the three armies is Anne and Sasha must convince the frogs, Newts, and Toads to work together, and then also Whoopi Goldberg returns as voice of Mother Olm. So yeah, I think of course you're going to have like someone representing each faction. You might have a scene of like troops of different species like struggling to work together, and then something happens and they'll learn to work together. And I guess since Mother Olm is still going to be around, I'm guessing maybe the Mother of Olms ends with the planners and Anne like somehow rescuing her from Proteus in a way, because I'm not sure how she would end up with them in the first place. But yeah, I guess like her.
But then she's not in any of the other episodes, so maybe they're assembling the armies at Proteus.
Yeah, that's what Nick suggested. But I feel like since we got the like Nick had a theory like a few weeks like last week that everyone would like kind of like like everyone would meet up at Proteus, but I guess with the underground tunnel, like with the underground setting in Wartwood, maybe they'll find a way to fit everyone. But
yeah,
I'm guessing maybe Mother Olm her appearance will be like the big thing that at least gets everyone to listen and shut up for a second.
I do think it's interesting. I think because it mentions Anne and Sasha in particular, and I think that is the episode when they're finally gonna like finish the like reconciliation arc and like they're finally good friends again. Like that, like the parallel between getting the armies to work together and then them, finally working together as true friends again, having like worked out all their baggage over the course of the season.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the vibe I was getting too. Like it would, like symbolize the idea of like getting over bad blood and just like bad history together. Yeah. I was getting that idea too.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the those were the April synopses, and I think we can wrap up tonight's recording. And I'll give everyone, I guess, final thoughts. I guess Uzbeks, what are your final thoughts on this episode? Everything that's coming up, like.
Very solid, and I'm excited to see where it's going next.
All right, thank you, Uzbeks. Rurk, final thoughts?
I love these sets of episodes, and it feels great to be an Amphibia fan.
All right, thank you, Rurk. Nick?
Yeah, two really great ways to start 3B. So I'm just pumped. I'm just as pumped as everyone else here.
All right, thank you, Nick. And yeah, I thought these were both a very solid start to 3B, and I guess in general, like my general feeling is like now I'm starting to feel the end now, and like I guess like going into these episodes, I think I'm not as wild with the speculation as I used to be. Like now, I think I'm a little bit more reserved because I'm just like slightly anxious of how everything's gonna end up, but not in like a negative way. Just like where it's all heading. I'm just like biding my time. And,
Pumped.
yeah, I am still pumped. I'm just like I have this, like I have this kind of like feeling once like a show starts wrapping up, like with like even Gravity Falls, but at least with Weird McGinn, it's like we had an episode every few months, so like I had time to like soak it in. But like it's like here, it's like for Amphibia, I'm just like I'm super excited, but like I'm like waiting in the bushes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand. Like, just hiding behind the bush as well. Every week, there's gonna be a new stuff gonna come out. That's gonna come out.
And oh, I forgot to mention this earlier. I really liked how both these episodes, since it's like the start of 3B, I liked how they didn't really establish anything new. They just worked off what they had. So from everything with the plot with Andreas and just catching up on the status quo and all the characters we have, even the minor callbacks, I like how it's like the show knows it had like a good foundation. It's just like pulling from it and keeps pulling from it. And yeah, so then once we get like the new, like once we go into next week, which is Town Road and Sasha's Angels, it's like once we see whatever the city of Ulms is, Proteus, it's going to be it's going to be super refreshing to add like a new piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, because I just can't wait until like the show's like, because I feel like by the time we probably get to the Three Armies, we'll have a good idea. Well, I think by then the show will expose all its twists, all the things they kept hidden, and once we get there, it's just going to be about concluding everything, right? So I just can't wait for the show to reveal all its hands here.
Right.
Yeah, we're barreling towards the end game. I mean, only so many twists left, and every episode is going to get a bit clearer what that end game is.
Definitely. Yeah, and with that, that concludes this week's recording. Thanks, guys, for coming on, and next week we're going to talk about Sasha's Angels and Town Road, which is going to be like every week is going to be an exciting pair. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Say goodbye, everyone.
See you.
See you guys.
Yeah.
See you guys.
See ya.
Yeah.